we love having partners that work with all of our listeners. So while you're sitting in the cab, think about it. Jumping from cab to cab, going from season to season. There's only one way to do it all on your farm, and that is to ag LeaderYour. Steer it and gain pass-to-pass accuracy. Plant it with unrivaled planter and seed control. Apply it and ensure precise coverage across your entire field. Harvest it and make unloading on the go simple. Manage it by having 24/7 access to your data in real time. For every farm and every field activity, Ag LeaderYour. Contact your local Ag Leader dealer or visit agleader.com for more information.
RightSpot is our new nozzle-by-nozzle sprayer control system. So it is a system that essentially eliminates any overlap that you're going to have in the field. So it's going to save you on input costs and help you be more accurate in the field. And then beyond that, it's going to make running the sprayer a lot simpler and a lot easier for the operator so they can really do a better job with less effort.
Ladies and gentlemen, farmers, ranchers, and distinguished guests, thank you for listening to the Farm for Profit podcast, where we discuss the latest ideas, methods, trends, and techniques available to help your farm achieve higher levels of farm profitability. The Farm for Profit podcast is co-hosted by Tanner Winterhoff, the Iowa Bankerman, and David Whitaker, the Iowa Land Guy, where in tandem they will share their ideas and advice from industry experts. Thank you again for listening to the Farm for Profit podcast. Remember, if you aren't farming for profit, you won't be farming for long. And now, here's Tanner and David.
And listeners, welcome back to the Farm for Profit podcast. This is Tanner Winterhoff.
And this is David Whitaker.
Got a profit episode this week. Remember, if you've got ideas for content, send us an email at farm4profitllc@gmail.com or hit us up on any of those social media platforms at Farm4Profit LLC. That's the number 4, Dave.
Yes, and remember, speaking of numbers, we have a phone number now that you can call, text, etc. But Tanner, I can't remember what the phone number is. What's the phone number?
It's like 515-207-YO40.
YO40, I know that. Yeah, that's what it is. And we're going to go right into a listener review, Tanner. And this listener review is brought to you by eggcareers.com. Tell me, who's it from and what they say?
Another email, a very generous email from a listener of ours, Taylor, said, I wanted to reach out and say how much I love the content that you post. So thanks, Taylor, for sending us an email. And let's pause real quick for a moment from our sponsor.
Daddy, did you know 1 out of 10 people in North America works in the agricultural industry?
You're right, Gabby. With the global population expected to increase to 10 billion by 2050, the demand for sustainable food sources will become even more important than ever before. The agricultural industry employs people in a wide range of professions, including accountants, engineers, farmhands, IT specialists, technicians, salespeople, truck drivers, even podcast hosts, and much, much more.
Daddy, your listeners' next career can help put food on the table for people around the globe.
You're right, Gabby. If they go to agcareers.com, that will connect job seekers with employers in the agricultural industry with more than 4,000 jobs posted every month. agcareers.com, that is agcareers.com, can help you find your next career. Set up your free job seeker account and apply for jobs today. Or, if you're looking for employees, get started today by posting your first job for only $150 when you use the code FARM4PROFIT to save. That is FARM, the number 4 profit. Your next opportunity awaits at agcareers.com. Hey, listeners, time for our What's Working in Ag segment.
And Tanner, remember, the What's Working in Ag is like we're having coffee shop talk. This is where all the farmers just want to know, like, hey, what are you doing? What's working? What's going on? And they're in studio today having coffee with us, talking with us. This is perfect.
And we're on our second take because I already screwed up. So nothing like the pressure of having people sit right next to you. But we have Gary and Rachel here, both from Integrity Builders. Welcome. Thanks for coming to Huxley.
It was nice drive up. Yeah, nice drive up today.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit. We'll start with Gary. What do you do for Integrity?
With Integrity, I do sales mainly, job site oversight some too, dealing with customers, helping put together bids with our estimators,
Nice.
A lot of one-on-one contact.
I'm going to stop us right there and back up even more. I know like 4 companies with integrity builders. So are you like builders of houses? Are you builders of commercial buildings? Like, give me more.
We're agriculture. Our main focus is swine facilities. We travel the Midwest.
Awesome.
And then you're in charge of sales, production, all kinds of stuff on the top end then.
I mainly sales is my title, key accounts manager. So
Perfect.
All right.
We will get more into that.
We've got the key guy with the key accounts, but we also have Rachel here, and you do a little bit of sales and marketing, or is it a lot of bit of sales and marketing?
I do a lot of marketing and a little bit of sales. So yeah.
That's fair. Okay, so what's the marketing pitch? What is Integrity Builders?
So Integrity Builders, we are a professional company that deals in, like Gary said, swine facilities majorly, or for the majority. And then we also do some post-frame cattle buildings. We also do service on poultry buildings if they need it. So I guess as far as new construction, remodeling, and service in a parts warehouse.
Nice. And that's why we've got him on, Dave, because our listeners have said we needed to do more with livestock related content.
There you go. There you go. So when I think of buildings and I think of hog buildings, I get the opportunity to sell them every once in a while. I mean, we have a million working parts to this, from site prep to how many heads should we have, how big are the spaces, who's our contractor going to be that we're with, to is it this kind of curtains, that kind of curtains, is this kind of floor, that are you like the total package? You do all that kind of stuff?
yes, we do total packages. We work with many of the integrators in the Midwest, and all of them have their own spec. We try to know that spec or learn it and build according to what they want.
Okay, so Midwest, a core group of our listeners, over half of you listeners are either from Iowa or a state that touches Iowa. Is that what you're calling the Midwest, or do you go further than that?
That's what I call the Midwest. We are doing projects currently Minnesota. We've done them in Wisconsin, quite a bit in Illinois, Missouri, and back here in Iowa quite a bit.
Have experience, will travel.
Correct.
Yes.
Can build about anything, it sounds like.
New slogan for the marketing department.
There.
And then on top of that, we don't just build new construction. We have a full service team that can come work on your buildings if you already have one built. And or if you're just looking for parts to work on your own building, you can have us ship some to you or stop by our warehouse.
So
That's probably valuable for you, Dave.
Heck yes. Like I have folks with like old Murphy buildings. They're like, hey, what are these worth? And then we're like, well, that needs replaced and that needs replaced and this needs replaced. And it becomes a whole, well, who do we call? So it sounds like you guys might even do upgrades. What's the average lifespan of a building that maybe you're repairing? Are they 20 years in and then you start repairing them?
We do. I see a lot of buildings I've been remodeling that are 95, 96, 97. So they're 25 years old. If they were built structurally right, we can do a lot with them and make them new or almost new.
So now I'm curious on the new side. We've heard a lot about supply shortages and the difficulty of, in vehicles and tractors getting chips and steel prices going up. So have you guys seen that a lot on your front? What's it like on the new construction side of your business right now?
Frustrating.
So you're saying you can give me a hard number right now and it's not going to change. Got it. Perfect. Okay.
Some of the quotes we're getting are good for 7 days. Some they're good for 24 hours. It's hard to deal with the customer because I've always had the approach. These are big investments our customers make. They spend $500,000 to $5 million, maybe more. And that's the big decision for them to make. And I don't want to be that high pressure guy, but all at once now we're saying, hey, this quote's only good for 7 days and you have to make a decision, and it's not fun for anybody right now.
Right. Yeah. I'm looking at the banker side of this. Is most of the people building these facilities are also financing them. And if you want me to make a decision in 7 days, whoa.
See, and Tanner's been trying to get me to build a swine facility. And so we've been talking about it, and he's like, oh, this would be good way to diversify your funds. Okay. So if we're selling real estate or whatever, or we're farming, we diversify funds and maybe do it this way and then use hog manure for something else and get into a contract. Is that your A1 client or who's your number one client? Is it the local farmer or is it bigger organizations?
It's an even spread between them all.
Okay.
We deal with a lot of local independent business people.
Okay.
We deal with a lot of young people that are custom feeding for integrators around southeast Iowa and all over the Midwest. And then we build for some very large organizations that own everything internally.
Nice.
So it's probably 30 in there, our business is. And that's a good way to have your business structured. Right now, though, to be blunt, the young person that wants to get out of college and build a building and be able to pay for it in 10 to 15 years and have a contract on it, those are far and few between because interest rates are climbing.
Yep.
And our building costs have gone up like everybody else, 15 to 20%. So it's hard to make that cash flow for a young person.
So we're having a conversation here on the 16th of May. And the reason I'm time stamping this, we don't do this very often, is I'm going to ask you for a ballpark figure. We are not, we'll throw in a little disclosure here. Everything that follows here is not good outside of the listen to this podcast. You can't hold them to the claim. But what does it cost to build a hog barn right now? What are we looking at on a per space? Are you at liberty to give us a range? Because I think when my parents built their first barn in 98, we were below $200 a pig space.
I'm sure you were. I think I built my first ones in the mid-90s, and I was around 150 a space.
Okay.
And it's not uncommon now by the time they get their dirt work done, they get their well in, all of their rock, everything complete, they're pushing $400 a space.
Yeah, I've wondered if it was more than double.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the average size? I mean, how many spaces, or how do we determine space? If I'd like to build one, how do I determine how much? Is that based on the contractor that I'm working with or the contract that I have for hogs? Or can I just say, I want to make more money, I have the money, let's go bigger, and then fill it? Does it automatically get filled?
Most of it is based off of the integrators.
It is, okay.
Just because they want a certain size building or a certain lot space for their contracts that they're trying to fulfill. So that really dictates a lot with our local hog finishing buildings and barns that we're constructing.
So if I'm a listener and I'm thinking of putting one up, or I have been thinking of putting one up, talk with the integrator first, is what I'm hearing.
Correct.
Talk with them. And then are they going to give me something like, here's our plan of attack? Is that called something like, here's your spreadsheet, take this to Integrity Builders, and now have Integrity Builders kick butt and take names?
They'll probably give you two different bits of information. One will be a cash flow on how they pay.
Okay.
With the value of manure in it, if you want to include that on your cash flow.
I just leave that with the banker. Got it.
Yep.
Fair enough.
The other one they'll give you a list of integrators or a list of builders they work with.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to pick who you want to build with.
Just cross them all off, excepting Integrity. Right? Okay, got it. Fair enough.
Like that.
Okay.
And then they'll have a spec book. And that spec most generally will say, okay, we want a building that's 70 wide,
Okay.
280 long, this many pens, this style of feeder. And they'll give you what they want in their building.
That's what you were looking for, a spec book.
Yeah, a spec book. So, and then that spec book. So now I have a when and where and how much, how long. So now I get with you guys and I say, Rachel, hey, I'm gonna go. Here's my money. Here's my check. How long does it take to start to finish once I know that I want to go? Banker gave me the money. Are we talking 2 years? Are we talking 6 months? Are we just generically, do I expect before I can start getting the integrator in there?
So mostly it goes off of your permitting and then our building schedule.
Okay,
is
the
how-
permits. I
so
forgot all
yes.
about that.
How could you forget, Dave?
I don't know.
You'll have to work with, there's several people around that do manure management plans.
Okay.
And then you'll work with them. You'll file your paperwork with manure management plan with the DNR. And then if you build a 2,400 or less, usually that's 30 days to submit and get approved, I think. If you go to a 5,000 head site, it extends it longer and it makes your setbacks more. It's a little more difficult. And from that point, you have a June 15th go date. So you can start moving dirt that day.
Okay.
Just say we can get in there June 15th. If the weather's good and we get everything shipped to us like we're supposed to, all our supplies come in, we hope to be done in 75 days.
Wow.
But if you get rain, if you get problems with supply,
Right.
and if your power company doesn't get the electrical lines there because there's a derecho somewhere and you're waiting on power, I mean, we've seen it all the last few years. But we would hope in 90 days you're done and you're ready to put pigs in.
That's faster than a house, Dave.
That is. I thought it'd take way longer.
Absolutely. So before we wrap up today, I want to get to what I think is a differentiator between you and the other companies that I've looked at. And that's your desire on the marketing side to provide educational resources. your fun approach to social media to help our listeners learn about this process before, like you said, Gary, dumping into a really big life-changing decision. So, Rachel, what are you guys doing on social media and YouTube that might set you different than, or does set you apart from your competition?
So if you're a pork producer or just someone interested in learning about pork production, you can go check us out on YouTube or Integrity Builders on TikTok. We strive to educate people about ways to maintain their hog buildings, take them on tours of their hog buildings, just to show them different tips and advice that they can do to keep their hog buildings lasting longer. And so my perspective is I work with a great team that has taught me a lot, even more about hog buildings than I could ever imagine, whether it's a sow unit or a finishing barn or a nursery. And I just really wanted to portray that to the world and showcase their knowledge and expertise in that.
Tanner,
So
we're both
hold on.
on TikTok, and the people that integrate with, or the videos that we see, or just even social media, it's crazy how many people out there don't know about agriculture or how hogs are produced, how grain is hauled to town, how anything is done. So that's fantastic.
That's a unique approach. That's like me trying to educate my borrowers as to how to pay their loans off faster, like we're doing with this podcast. It seems counterproductive because if they don't take care of their buildings, you sell more parts. But you're educating them on better ways to make their asset last longer and be more productive.
Correct. Yes. Like I found myself resourcing YouTube a lot to fix things at my home. And so, why can't people learn that about hog buildings or post frame buildings? So
800 million hours, I think, a week get watched on YouTube.
What?
I don't know. I got to Google it.
I don't believe you.
It's a huge number.
Well, they probably spend half of that time on the Integrity Builders page.
They must. They must.
And so then going into remodeling hog buildings, just different aspects and things that you could do as little or as much to keep that as a good ROI for your farming operation, or bringing younger farmers back to your farm, just showing the possibilities that you can do with your family farm.
Yeah.
I was way off.
Was it like 800?
More than 1 billion hours of video are watched every day.
Higher.
Every day, and it was a shorter time frame. There's 2.1 billion users worldwide and 1 billion hours a day.
That makes us feel really good about our 6 views a week that we get.
Yeah, 1 billion hours of video. So it's great. It went up from the last time I knew. I thought it was 800 million.
That's a lot of fun. Well, Gary and Rachel, we thank you for coming to hang out in the studio. Do you guys have anything else to share with our listeners before we send you back home?
One thing I was going to say, you said what separates us from other builders. One I feel is the people we have in the office. We have 4 estimators that do a great job, and we're lucky to have them. We have a full service parts team. We have our own concrete crews that we do our own work. We control our quality. We have our own carpenters. So when we come on site, they're the guys that we hire, and they know what quality we want. And that's a big difference in how these barns will last. They all look good when they're new. It's 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. How's it lasting? And then our install crews, we have some in-house and some we sub out, but we're very comfortable with those people, and we don't try to find the cheapest guy out there. We want the one that's going to last the longest, and that even goes with electrical services. The people we use for electrical contractors, we don't do that in-house because of insurance reasons, obviously, but we just try to find quality people that want to do the job right. So you're happy 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Do you ever get asked, 2009 is when you guys started? Is that right?
That's when Daryl started.
And so, Tanner, I get asked this all the time, starting in 2008. They said, well, the other company's been around for 50 years and you guys are pretty new. And I just tell them all, Tanner, well, who's in first place now, Amazon or Kmart? Because Kmart's been around a whole lot longer. But let me tell you, I'm going to shop at Amazon. So
there you go. Another slogan for the marketing department.
I don't know that the amount of time that you put into the business, how long you've been in business, it's the quality, or in this case, I'll use the pun, integrity of the company that's doing the damage here. So.
Man, you are just killing it today, Dave. Oh, as he looks to the ceiling, yes. But before we send you guys packing, we appreciate you coming in the studio and having a good conversation with us. But for our listeners now that are curious about either remodeling a barn that they've got, maybe looking to buy something and put some improvements into it, or build, what's the best way for them to find you and potentially reach out with questions?
Absolutely. So you can give Integrity Builders a call, Integrity Builders and Supply Incorporated out of New London, Iowa. Our phone number is 319-752-9001. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. So we'd love to have you guys follow us.
We have a lot of TikTokers. So what's your TikTok handle? Do we have a company?
Integrity Builders and Supply.
Very good.
That's impressive because it's hard to get a corporate TikTok built up with that loyal of a following.
So we appreciate all of you.
That's great. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Have a safe trip home.
Thank you, Tanner and David.
Perfect.
Listeners, are you looking for precision ag technology to level up the farm equipment that you already know and love? Ag Leader offers the complete package of year-round precision farming tools that can be used across different colored machinery to help you steer it, plant it, apply it, harvest it, and manage it more efficiently and profitably. For every farm and every field activity, Ag Leader it. Contact your local Ag Leader dealer or visit agleader.com for more information. All right, we're out of the What's Working in Ag segment. Time for the general topic. This is what you came here for today to listen to. We have Sam, who's the CEO of Ag Leader. Oh, that's not right.
That's not right.
We have Sam, the product sales specialist with Ag Leader, here today to talk about a little bit of new sprayer technology. So we're here mid-spray season, probably making that first post pass. And we got some new technology that you can think about and dream about and wish you had right now, but can put it on your sprayer for next year. So welcome, Sam.
Although we should be in the tractor, we are in studio with Sam, and we're going to talk all about this, the RightSpot Ag Leader. Here we go. Sam, welcome.
Hi. Everybody's got to have goals, so I guess CEO could be one of those goals for me, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad goal to have. And, one thing about, I think, achieving goals is you have to start saying it out loud. So therefore, we just one step further and put it on a podcast for you.
All right.
Very good. So, Sam, what's your background? How'd you get into Ag Leader? What'd you go to school for? How are you involved with agriculture?
Oh, great. This is a fun one because I have a little bit of a different story about how I got started in ag. I did not grow up on a farm. I was a country kid, but didn't really know much about farming. Went to school, got through high school, and then tried my hand at college, but that didn't go really well for me. I couldn't quite figure out what I wanted to do as far as schooling went, so I just started trying to figure out life, and I ended up going to work for a co-op to run a sprayer.
Okay.
And that was how it all got started. I started at that co-op. The next thing you know, I was into the precision ag department, and I started installing and servicing and then selling that equipment. And then, as life went on, I eventually moved away from the co-op, started a family in a different place, and found an opportunity to land at Ag Leader, and that's what brought me here today.
Sounds like you got a good background to have some hands-on experience, and I think most of our listeners would have the same. So
OTJT, is that what it is? On the job training? OTJT.
That's what I'm going to call it.
We're just
Not JFGI.
No. What is that even?
Don't Google it, or just Google it.
Or just Google it. That's good.
There we
Okay.
go.
So we are here to talk about RightSpot technology. We're also here to celebrate 30 years with Ag Leader, which is kind of fun to get an ag company that has advanced technology to be around for 30 years. There's so many new pop-up companies making a difference, but we get to celebrate 30 years. So first, what is RightSpot?
Well, RightSpot is our new nozzle-by-nozzle sprayer control system. So it is a system that essentially eliminates any overlap that you're going to have in the field. So it's going to save you on input costs and help you be more accurate in the field. And then beyond that, it's going to make running the sprayer a lot simpler and a lot easier for the operator, so they can really do a better job with less effort. So they'll be able to apply their spray accurately throughout a wide range of speed, and do things like compensate for the going around curves, things like that. So the system is able to make the sprayer apply the exact right amount on all parts of the field at all time and never overlap anything.
Dave, we on Farm for Profit talk a lot about efficiency over and over, and we just found another avenue that we can bring up efficiency again.
I have so many questions.
Start asking.
So when I think of no overlap, I think, well, wait a minute. What if your nozzles are higher? If they're higher, then they're going to overlap more. So there's got to be some kind of smart technology that's telling this thing that, like, how high we are off the ground and how much pressure we're at. And I mean, it's not just that simple. There's got to be some tech.
So yeah, your boom height and the amount each nozzle is overlapping its neighboring nozzle, that's all based on how you want your coverage to look. But what we're talking about is when you come into the end rows or an area of the field that you've already applied. Each time, if your sprayer is set up on section control, you've got to wait for that entire section to be overlapping that already applied area before it turns off. So you end up with all these triangles of overlap in the field, and all that adds up. And if I go back to my days at a co-op when I was running the sprayer, I didn't have a ton of technology in my sprayer at that time, but we used to have to mix up at least 5% extra when we went to each customer's field. Some fields, if they were odd shaped or a lot of curves and terraces and just weird stuff like that, we might be mixing 10 or 15% extra just to make sure that we get that field done without running short on chemical. And I mean, with chemical prices the way they are today, I mean, that could be huge.
Yeah, it can. That's the sprayer that I grew up with was boom 1, boom 2, boom 3. You just manually flipped the switch off when you came to the end. So not only was it a whole boom width, but you were guessing to make sure that you timed it correctly. Obviously, you get good at it, but everything has changed. So this is the newest addition to your direct command product line. So farmers have used direct command for a long time. This is just the newest addition. So they can still control this through their in-command display, right?
Yeah, so Direct Command's been around for a long time. We've actually been out there doing application stuff for 17 years now. So, Ag Leader is a brand that has been trusted in the application world for a long time. And RightSpot is sort of our next evolution of that portion of our business. So it's pretty exciting to be bringing this sort of technology to Ag Leader's whole line of products that support all the operations throughout the season.
So this is something that our listeners can integrate into their systems right now. It's not, you don't have to buy a brand new something or other. They can, maybe monitor, maybe a system, but not a whole new piece of equipment.
No, this will be run through our in-command 1200 display.
Okay.
So it's a display that many of these farmers are already using for something else. And the whole system and Ag Leader in general is designed to retrofit all the older equipment or new equipment, whatever it may be, and just to upgrade the technology rather than having to upgrade the entire piece of equipment.
So Tanner, when I'm thinking what you're talking about is, maybe a left boom, center boom, right boom, shut off. It had individual controllers for that. We're talking nozzle by nozzle shut off here. So as we're turning the corner, that it's going. Do they have to replace every nozzle then on their sprayer? Or how's the integration work here?
No, we retrofit to the existing nozzle bodies that are on the sprayer. So we just take the drip check off and we put a little valve on there, and then we wire it up, onto your existing sprayer, so you don't have to replumb anything. You just simply screw these valves on and hook up the wiring, and the rest of the system, then you take a sprayer that maybe had 3 or 5 or 7 or maybe even 10 sections, and now we can go up to controlling 144 individual nozzles.
It's like a 120-foot boom. You can 144 different nozzle shutoffs.
Yeah, I think 144 nozzles is 10-inch nozzle spacing on a 120-foot boom.
Dave's mind is blown. Like, I'm just watching his eyes. They just got so big because this is an aftermarket solution. We don't have to go buy the latest machine in order to put the latest technology to work.
Right. You can take any old sprayer on your farm and upgrade it to, perform and really in some cases maybe even outperform some of the new equipment.
Tanner, what about my yard sprayer? It's got 3 nozzle bodies on it. Can I do that?
I wouldn't put it past him. I bet you he'd have fun doing that.
I'd be happy to get
You just need to figure out a way to mount an in-command display.
On my garden tractor. I got it. I'm in.
I think you could do this. You just got done talking about it's time to go spray today.
I know, it is.
You're going to have the nicest looking lawn in the neighborhood.
That's right.
And we'll do it the most efficiently with no overlap.
That stuff was expensive. Stuff I just bought, tell you what, $1,000 a gallon is what I just paid for the stuff I'm going to put on my yard. So
wow,
we need to be efficient. And he said I could save me 15% possibly if I'm turning a lot. And a zero-turn lawnmower with the deal on the back, we're going to be turning a lot. So no, we're all right. I digress. Here we go.
So there's more to this. And the efficiency of delivering the chemicals to the ground. So I didn't realize that droplet size matters. And I know a lot of our listeners are going to be like, Tanner, you idiot. You should have known that. But there might be somebody out there that didn't. So what about droplet size matters when we're covered?
Well, yeah, I mean, when you think about it, and if you start to read some of these chemical labels, you'll see that there's required ranges of droplet size that you need to be in, or it'll mention a certain nozzle type at a certain pressure. But really, the end result of what they're looking for is to control the size of the droplets that are coming out of that spray nozzle. And droplet size is really critical when you're spraying. So if your droplet size is too big, you get fewer large droplets out there. And in say a contact herbicide, if you have fewer large droplets, you're not going to get adequate coverage, right? You just get a few of these large drops. You don't do the job of killing the plant. So you want to make sure your droplet size is right to make sure your chemical is effective. And then on the flip side of that, if you have too small of a droplet size, that's when you are prone for those droplets to drift away and drift off target. And we all know what a big concern chemical drift can be these days with some of the chemistries that we're using out there.
Yeah. So have you guys put this to action yet? Do you have people who have tested it? What type of feedback are you getting on that side?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's been overwhelmingly positive out there with our field testers. Having control over that and to know that the entire field, you're hitting your target droplet size, you're hitting your correct rate, is really a feeling that gives the operator confidence in knowing they're doing the right thing out there.
So does this integrate with GPS, I assume, that whether it's WAS or whatever, as we're going, what's the accuracy, like sub-inch accuracy or?
Yeah, in that, we can work with whatever GPS accuracy you're currently using on the farm. But when we start talking about what the system is capable of, it really makes sense to go to one of them higher accuracy GPS levels so that you know that you're getting the highest level accuracy possible.
That's kind of neat. I'm curious. I know our listeners are sitting there going in their sprayer right now as they hear this, wishing that they didn't have to shut off entire boom sections, or noticing that even if they're automatic, that there still is overlap. So can we get it now, or are we still in test phase?
Yeah, it is available to purchase. We're shooting for July 1st on that. Going to be shipping systems this fall, so it'll be in the hands of our customers definitely before 2023 spraying season rolls around.
Now, am I going to be able to put this on myself, or is this something I need an ag leader technician to install? Is it going to be pretty simple?
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation is always going to be to work with your ag leader dealer. They're the experts in the field, and they do a great job. But yeah, absolutely, it comes with a full set of instructions, and it's really not that hard. Instructions are very good, and you could potentially install it yourself if that's something you want to do.
Yeah, I helped my in-laws install some upgrades on their planter this spring, and by the time we were done with it, we did call the ag leader technician to come out and make sure that all the wiring harnesses were correct and everything was put together. So I think that's sound advice. You may start it, listener, by yourself, but you may have someone come and make sure you didn't screw it up.
Yeah, it's good to double check your work.
I'm assuming there's a way to test it too, adjust speed, adjust calibration. Is there a calibration to it as well?
It really simplifies the work that you're doing out there. So traditionally, when you go out in your sprayer, and all your off-season checks as far as calibrating, making sure your nozzle flows are right, that stuff kind of stays the same. But then when you go out to the field and you're actually running your sprayer, in the past you might have to reference a nozzle chart and say, okay, I want to hit this droplet size, which means I need to use this this certain nozzle, and I want to hit a certain pressure. Well, if I'm going to hit that certain pressure at the flow I'm putting out, I need to drive a certain speed. And so then, you have to do all these things right to make sure you're doing the job correctly. Well, with RightSpot, all you have to do is tell it how much you want to put out and what pressure you want to run at, and it takes care of the rest for you. Okay, so if you know those things, you can go out and you'll have a much wider range of speed, so then you can drive the sprayer how you're comfortable. It means if you're pulling into a corner or navigating some rough terrain, you can slow down and you don't have to worry about sacrificing that coverage. Or if you got things are easy going, you can kick it up a gear and you can really be productive. And again, you're not going to sacrifice getting that right coverage with the, drift control.
I'm just fascinated by the technology that's included here. And obviously that comes as a focus to Ag Leader. So we teased it a little bit in the beginning, but it's 30 years old. Ag Leader's 30 years old, which puts things into perspective for Dave and I, because we are older than Ag Leader. But there's a lot that they've accomplished since then. So what are some other things that has made Ag Leader successful as a company?
Well, and this may be up for some debate, but I would argue that Ag Leader really started the whole precision ag industry. So the first successful on-the-go yield monitor was invented by Ag Leader's owner back in the late 80s. Ag Leader was born in the early 90s. And since then, that really kicked off the whole precision ag industry, right? You start with a yield monitor, and then you move into application controls, and then auto steer and planting, and now water management, and along the way, all the data that we're managing these days. Ag Leader's been in the data software business for over 25 years, and we've got really the gold standard for geospatial data management in our SMS software. So Ag Leader has really been at the heartbeat of the precision ag industry since the very beginning.
That just reminded me. So my dad was working with Karen Corrigan, I want to say early 90s, maybe mid 90s, and got one of the first Ag Leader on-the-go yield monitors for the combine. It's kind of, you do all these trials for us, and we'll buy this system for you. And we ran that for years, and it was fairly accurate. I mean, for the first ever on-the-go yield monitor, that was kind of neat. But are you guys throwing any parties? You guys as employees get the benefit of being 30 years old as a company? Is this a special year or just kind of fun to recognize?
Yeah, I think it's a fun recognition thing. We might have a little celebration internally, but yeah, we're enjoying it every step of the way. It's fun that we're finally starting to get into a place in this world where we can get back together as human beings and really enjoy those moments. And I'm sure we'll have a little celebration at Ag Leader.
Well, Tanner, I know just even speaking with a local college here at Iowa State University, and having lived in Ames here where Ag Leader is located for a long time, even 20 years ago, I remember them being, as the name would imply, leading the industry with new innovation. I think they're going to, as all of our technology gets smaller, smarter, bolder, faster, quicker, GPS gets more accurate, they're going to continue to develop, expand, full farm solutions. Like we talked about, it's not just spraying. It went from yield monitoring to planning to high-speed planning to now like RightSpot. So now we're talking RightSpot and individual, not row shutoffs, but individual nozzle shutoffs is where we're talking now. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, to throw the technology full circle to make you efficient from plant to harvest is kind of neat to see that under the roof of one company.
I bet they have a lot of patents.
Oh, Probably.
A lot of patents.
And I bet they have a lot of very intellectually smart people in the agriculture space.
Well, I tell you, I'm impressed with the social media side, the marketing side of the team, because it's hard. And we just got done saying this with Integrity. It's hard to build a social media presence around a company because a lot of people know when they feel like they're being sold to, or know that they're out there for personal enjoyment and don't want to shop. But Ag Leader's done a lot of great things, even on their TikTok. It's been fun. I know we all participated in one, what was it, how tall your corn was last summer, if I remember. But yeah, listeners, go find them on TikTok. It's Ag Leader Tech, if I remember correctly. But that's got to be fun being a part of a company that isn't afraid to try to differentiate themselves by having a little fun on social media.
Yeah, it's really a fun outlet for us, and that one last summer, it was how high is your corn, which is where all the fun responses came from, not how tall is your corn.
How high is your corn? We should see how high our listeners are. Oh no, we shouldn't see that. Let's keep that to
way
yourself.
past April. We're way past April 20th. No, we're good.
It doesn't just happen one day, Dave.
Oh, I thought it was just a one-day thing. So,
Well, we're getting way off topic. So we are here with Sam, who's future CEO of Ag Leader. Like what we did there? See?
Yeah.
He even did well with his pre-interview question about the history of Ag Leader and putting it together. But we talked about RightSpot technology. Do we miss anything that you think we should cover?
You know, one of my favorite things about RightSpot is the turn compensation. So, and this is near and dear to me because the area of the state that I grew up in, Northeast Iowa, we don't have any square fields. We don't have any flat fields. Everything is, you're turning all the time. And if you think about what happens to a spray boom, especially when we start talking wider spray booms, when you're going around a turn, is one end of your spray boom is traveling at a much different rate of speed than the other end.
right.
And if you have an equal flow going out of every nozzle on that entire boom, but one end is traveling faster than the other, that means you're going to be over applying on the
one
slow end and under applying on the fast end of the boom. And it's really quite significant amount as well. If you put the math to it, you can really quickly be off by 10, 20, 25%, even more from one end of the boom to the other. And if you're using a chemical that could cause damage if it's over applied, you could end up with crop damage on one end, and you could end up with weed escapes or bug escapes on the other end of that boom curve. So what RightSpot's doing is able to actually vary the flow to each individual nozzle, so that each nozzle is putting out the correct amount for the speed that it's traveling. So on the fast end of the boom will increase the flow out there, and on the slow end of the boom will decrease the flow, so that it's just the perfect amount at every part along the boom.
This reminds me of our spring prep episode last year. I think we had HTS Ag, one of your dealers, on, and he talked about the turn compensation on the planter technology. Because the same thing would happen. The planters are getting so wide that if you're making a turn on the corner, you don't want seeds that are further apart than they should be or dropped right on top of each other. So that's cool that this technology is being implemented. And I just realized that clearly we're dealing with the leader in ag technology, because we've now talked to them on a spring episode. We're talking to them about sprayers. We're going to have to, almost by obligation, have them on this fall to see what's new coming down the pipe for harvest.
Well, better check out agleader.com.
So we always ask all of our guests the same question. What do you know now that you wish you'd have known sooner? But while you're thinking about that, let's summarize here, Dave, and then give a challenge on what we talked about. So this was RightSpot technology. We talked with Sam Wilson, who's a product sales specialist with Ag Leader. We talked about the features that come from RightSpot. So this is for your sprayers. We're talking sprayers today. It's Nozzle-by-Nozzle Control, up to 144 nozzles. This is an aftermarket solution to help you be more efficient with your sprayers. It works on the same technology, your same screen, your in-command display in your cab. It's aftermarket, can go on any sprayer. It will be available for order this summer so we can start shipping things this fall and be ready for next spring. But it works really well for you to have the proper rate in all scenarios, helps you be able to adjust speed on the fly. You have consistent droplet sizes, and we have turn control, turn by turn. It's not turn by turn. It's turn control. So we make sure that the rate is varied on the inside of the boom versus the outside. It's moving a lot faster.
It's all about eliminating overlap. And as Sam said, in most cases it's 5%, but even as aggressive as up to 15%. So we're all about efficiency here. And when we're talking efficiency and saving money, especially with current prices, is the juice worth the squeeze? And I think if you have a 15% return or even a 10% return, it is.
And so far, all the feedback they've gotten from their tests have been quite positive. And of course, Sam has personal experience having run sprayers in his professional life to know what type of headaches this relieves. So that's our summary for today. Dave, what do you got for a challenge?
Well, I just like Ag Leader does. They challenge the process. So just because we've always done it that way doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. And I heard a million kids say, well, Grandpa, why do we do it that way? Because I said so. Because we've always done it that way. So taking the stance that Ag Leader has, I'm going to challenge all of our farmers to challenge the process. Why do we do it this way? Is there a better way to do it? Is there not a better way to do it? And it's not maybe Ag Leader specific, but why don't we do it this way? Well, let's give it a shot.
Yeah. So, Sam, a little professional stalling there for you. What do you know now that you wish you'd have known sooner?
Yeah, when I look back at my younger days, I think my relationship with learning was not quite what it was or what it is now. And I've realized, over time that as I become more curious and I have a desire to learn and improve, that's what's led to all the successes I've had in my life. And I look at successful people around me, and they all have that curiosity and that desire to learn and improve, and the humility to know that they don't know everything. And so I think that's that's something that I wish I could have told myself at a younger age, like, hey, this is really going to be important for your future. And that's what's neat about the Farm4Profit podcast, I think, is in the listeners that you have are probably some pretty successful people because they're learning a lot of good stuff from you guys.
Well, a podcast is selfish for a lot of things. For me, is I'm learning. I sat here and learned this entire conversation. And just like you said, it's fun to know where your curiosity hits and what the root of it is, so you can go out there and better yourself. And I don't have to sit here and be the expert. We can have people come in here and sit across from us, Dave, and ask these kinds of questions. But thanks again, Sam, for hanging out with us. Again, with Ag Leader, if you've got questions or want to explore their products, go to agleader.com. Of course, watch their social media. It's a lot of fun, and they're probably going to have some 30th anniversary giveaways or at least some contests this year. So check them out, Ag Leader Tech. That's at Ag Leader Tech. And Dave, I say, listeners, thanks for hanging out with us. If you've got any questions, send them our way. But until next time, have a good one.
Remember, if you aren't farming for profit, you won't be farming for long.